Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day and above all else that you are indeed looking after yourselves and one another. Ladies and gentlemen, before I get into what we hope is another fantastic episode, of course it's going to be fantastic. We're both here. I want to welcome back to the channel Mr. Ken Cheshire. How's it going, Ken?
Thank you, boss. I'm doing well. Good to be back.
Good to have you back. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you to Simply the Best. Is a greatest hits enough? We are going to be taking a look at a list of five bands each, or five artists each, and we're going to be discussing these artists and why we think that owning a greatest hits from each of these artists is enough. Um, Originally, it was going to be a trio doing this episode, but Mr. Jim Bricker is missing in action. He's late. So he'll join us at some point during this taping. You just don't know when. Um, but yeah, Ken and I have come up with five artists each that we feel owning a greatest hits from these bands is enough, really. So, like I said, I've always said in these episodes, I was brought up right by my mama, and I'm going to pass the virtual mic over to Ken, and he's going to give us his first of five artists. So, take it away, Ken.
Okay. First, I would like to say that these selections aren't for hardcore fans. Because if you're a hardcore fan of any of these artists, a greatest hits isn't going to be enough.
Exactly.
Second of all, these are also these also serve as a great entry point to these artists if you've only heard maybe one or two songs and you're really curious about their other stuff. So, but anyway, I'm going to start off with one of the biggies. I'm going to start off with George Harrison. Um,
Okay.
there are actually surprisingly not that many greatest hits compilations for Harrison. Um, but I found one that was released in 2009. It was called Let It Roll, Songs by George Harrison. This is the only one that I could find that combined both his Beatles songs and his solo catalog. So
Okay.
you've got 19 tracks. Uh, like I said, you've got While My Guitar Gently Weeps and you know all of those couple of the Beatles hits, but then it also goes right into his solo stuff. You know, What Is Life? Um, and it's got the later stuff all those years ago. Isn't it a pity? Well, that's not later,
Hmm.
but I've got my mind set on you, which was a big radio hit. Um,
Hmm.
and so it's like I said, it's a really good selection as far as his works throughout his career, Beatles and afterwards. And the way that the tracks are organized, they're not in chronological order. So it's a nice mix in the way they mix up the songs if you listen to it, you know, as the recording is.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, 19 tracks. So it's a good size. You get a really good representation of him throughout his career. So
Yeah.
George Harrison, Let It Roll from 2009. I recommend.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Here's a question. Do you prefer that? I think I know the answer, but I'm gonna ask anyway. Um, and that's how I roll.
Yeah, there you go.
Do you prefer when they mix up the running order? Do you prefer it mixed up, or do you want it? Would you like your greatest hits done chronologically?
Well, the OCD in my brain wants it chronologically.
Yeah.
However, um, I I generally don't mind for it to be mixed up. Um, but that's just not my default. You
Hmm.
know, if I'm making a playlist, I'm usually going to put things in chronological order because like I say, that's my brain's default. But there again, on this Harrison, I really do quite like them mixed up, and several of the others that are coming up are mixed up too.
That's
So
cool.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
cool.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'm more of a mixed up kind of a person myself. Um, I like it jumbled up so that, just you don't know what you're gonna get next, right?
Sure.
It's like a box of chocolates, that kind of thing.
Well,
Um,
and that's one of the things about streaming or listening online, whether it's you're listening to your MP3s or whatever, you can always push that scramble button,
yeah,
and you'll get a different mix every time. So,
exactly.
oh yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I get you. All right, the first one on my list in terms of bands that, you know, I'd rather just have a greatest hits of. Um, we're gonna go with the Cars.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, the bands I'm going to be mentioning on my list have like compilations upon compilations upon compilations. Word to Rhino Electra. Wake up. There's something different here. You know what I'm trying to say? All right. The Cars, the complete greatest hits, released in 2007 through Rhino Electra Records. Um, 20 tracks. So if it was released on vinyl, it would be a double greatest hits album. It's got everything you want, just when I needed my best friend's girl, good times roll, let the good times roll, whatever. Um, I can't sing for shit, but anyways,
I,
uh,
you're in a Bill Schuster mood. What can we say?
you're all I've got tonight. Bye bye love. Moving in stereo. Let's go or whatever. It's all I can do. 20 songs.
Yeah.
Basically, it's the creme de la creme of the greatest hits. And ladies and gentlemen, one of the conditions that I put on Ken and Jim was that there was to be no previously unreleased tracks or no new songs. Because, you get these compilations where, there's like one or two or three, even four new songs. What is that? You know what I mean? A greatest
I tell
hits.
you, it's a money grab, is what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, it's a cash grab.
It's they'll put an unreleased song
Yeah,
on the greatest hits, and they'll think, okay, well, there's somebody that's going to want that song, but that doesn't work anymore with streaming.
exactly.
So,
Exactly.
but yeah, yeah,
Yeah, basically the condition I put on this episode was all of these greatest hits compilations were the hits. They weren't any like no previous unreleased, no new songs, no live tracks. So, um, but that is my number one. The Cars, the complete greatest hits, 20 songs, goes from uh, just what I needed to the last track is You Are the Girl. So you have
okay,
a complete running order of the greatest hits. And on this album, uh, the songs are jumbled up. They're not in running order, of chronological order. So there you go. That's my first one.
yeah.
So back to you.
Also, yeah,
Oh,
also for this list, we also discounted compilation box sets,
that's right. That's
such as Dylan's Biograph,
that's
which
right.
is
Um,
technically a greatest hits, but it's four CDs. It's like, okay, well, that's kind of cheating a little bit.
yeah,
Um,
and the
we want to
reason,
keep it.
yeah, the reason why we did that, ladies and gentlemen, was Jim was asking about the parameters, the conditions for this episode, and he mentioned Neil
Makes sense.
Young's Decade, right? Which is for all of you audiophiles out there, it's a three vinyl record set. So I said, okay, anything above a three vinyl album set is a box set. So we're not going to go there. Okay. So there you go.
Yeah, and actually, yeah, and Decade is an excellent excellent greatest hits because
Yeah.
it also includes Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young and Buffalo Springfield.
Yeah.
I'm a big Buffalo Springfield. But anyway,
There you
okay,
go. There you go.
I'll move on.
Yeah.
So my second choice also reflects my generation, and that's Jefferson Airplane. And
Okay.
I chose I think was the first greatest hits, um, which is called The Worst of Jefferson Airplane. It was released in 1970.
Okay.
Um, uh, like the Cars, Jefferson Airplane, and some other artists, it's like their catalog is a series of diminishing returns. The catalog overall starts off really, really strong and really great, but as each album comes out after that, it's like it's not quite so good. So, and that's another good argument for these greatest hits packages. So, because you might end up buying their fourth or fifth album and it's only got two or three good songs on it,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't feel worth it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jefferson Airplane, The Worst of Jefferson Airplane, 1970, 15 tracks. Um, it's got exactly what you want. Somebody to Love, White Rabbit, Crown of Creation, Lather, Plastic Fantastic, Lover, Volunteers. It's got all the biggies because whereas they're best known for surrealistic pillow that's got White Rabbit and Somebody to Love on it. I actually like their first album, Takes Off. I think it's a very strong album. That was before Grace Slick joined the band. Um, but after Surrealistic Pillow, yeah, it's that diminishing returns thing. It's like, oh, there's some killer songs on this and the others. It's like, really?
Mhm.
What trunk did take that out of? So I love Jefferson Airplane, but I tell you what, I rarely go past the first two albums. So this is a really good collection of 15 tracks. Um, uh, and of course, then they would go on to form Jefferson Starship. I believe there are some greatest hits packages that do include the Airplane and Starship.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
but there's really only one Starship song that I'm aware of that I like. So this one is it for me.
Yeah.
It's the pure early stuff. So The Worst of Jefferson Airplane, and looking at Discogs, there's like 85 different editions of this. You know, they
Yeah.
just keep cranking them out. Just one version isn't enough. But and I think there are some other Jefferson Airplane greatest hits that they only have like 10 tracks. It's the ones you'll find in the 3.99 or 2.99
Yeah.
section
Yeah.
of your
Bargain
store.
bins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The,
But
but
anyway,
yeah. No, I
number
got you.
two.
That's cool. That's cool. All right. My number two on the list is The Doors. Uh, I like
Yep.
The Doors, but I mean, for me, just the greatest hits is enough. And there are many compilations out there, ladies and gentlemen, but the one I'm picking is the very best of The Doors from 2007, again released through Rhino Electra Records. This comes in two formats, a single disc and a double disc. I picked the double disc version. And disc one has got Break On Through, Strange Days, Alabama Song, Whiskey Bar, Love Me Two Times, Light My Fire, Spanish Caravan. There's a new stereo mix on that one. Um, When the Music's Over, it ends the first disc. Uh, 15 tracks on disc one. Disc two starts off with 20th Century Fox, uh, uh, Love Her Madly, Riders on the Storm, My Eyes Have Seen You, good collection, good cross section here. And from what I can gather here, the tracks are not in chronological order. Uh, and other songs on disc two, Touch Me, uh, LA Woman, Waiting for the Sun, The Changeling, you know.
Mhm.
Disc two has 19 tracks and it ends with Roadhouse Blues. So you've got a really good cross section. If you can get, you know, uh, the double disc version of this on Amazon, the double disc version is going for like $30. The single disc is like 16. Go for the 30. If you can afford it,
Sure,
go for the 30.
sure.
What the hell? You get it all, right?
Yeah.
Um, again, I mean, to me, having the compilation for the Doors is enough. I've listened to the albums, some good stuff, but hand on heart, would I really go back and listen to the albums through and through over again? No, I really wouldn't. So for me, this would be enough, right?
Yeah.
Um, and there you go. And that's my number two.
Cool. Yeah, the Doors is I love the Doors, but man, each one of their albums is such a mix. It's a hit or miss for me.
Yeah.
You know, and we've talked about some of the Doors songs on other videos, and yeah, greatest hits is really the best way to go with them
Yeah.
because five albums. I've got all the albums. I never listened to them all the way through,
Yeah.
and even like the first one, which I like best. There's still a track or two that I might skip on that. It depends on what it is. And for all you audiophiles out there, there
Hmm.
is an SACD version of this that has a 5.1 surround mix um, of, the greatest hits, which I don't have, but I've been very curious about.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
some of them
Okay.
I'd like to hear, like Riders on the Storm, a
Oh,
killer song,
okay.
and
Yeah.
The End. The End. Those are
Yeah.
my two favorites. And I would imagine if a good 5.1 surround mix of those would just be absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Especially with Riders on the Storm, like with the
Oh yeah.
rain effects
With the
and,
rain, yeah. And thunder.
oh, yeah.
That's Halloween
Definitely.
music right there.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. No, true
Cool.
enough.
Good
True enough.
choice. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Your next
My
one?
number three,
Yep.
America, the band.
I could see that. I knew
Yeah,
who you were rooting for.
yeah. I'm not waving a flag or anything. It's a 1975 uh, release. It's called History, America's Greatest Hits.
Okay.
12
Oh,
tracks. It's got, everything you've heard on the radio: Horse with No Name, Ventura Highway, Muskrat Love, Tin Man, Lonely People, Sister Golden Hair. I mean, it says what it is and it delivers on what it is. Um,
exactly.
and so, 75, I was a sophomore in high school, I think. And the very first um, small band I was in, I remember we did a few of these songs, and just because we could do the harmonies. But yeah, to me, the albums they just don't cut it. It's a little bit too soft rock for me.
Too
Uh,
melancholy. Yeah.
yeah, but there's some of this, but some of these songs on the greatest hits are really good and transcend the most of the album tracks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, America History from 75 is perfect for this category. So
Okay.
I say
Yeah.
12 tracks, they all deliver what's promised.
Yeah. Yeah. And this was a time when you could fit 6 tracks per side on an album
Yes.
for a greatest hits compilation. Perfect. Perfect. My number three in terms of, greatest hits, preferable in terms of owning from a band, are Eagles. And Jim mentioned the other day, well, are we going to pick, should we, which greatest hits do we pick? Ladies and gentlemen, I got your answer for you. The fine folks at Rhino Electra Records have released the greatest hits as a double disc. Volumes one and two, released in 2017. So on on disc one, you get the multi-platinum selling greatest hits one with 10 tracks. Take It Easy, Witchy Woman, Lion Eyes, Already Gone, Desperado, One of These Nights, Tequila Sunrise, Take It to the Limit, one of my favorite tracks.
Mhm.
Amazing.
Mhm.
Peaceful Easy Feeling, The Best of My Love. 10. Boom, 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 boom. Done. That's all you need, right? But the fun doesn't stop there. You get on disc number two, Greatest Hits Volume 2, which has the tracks Hotel California, Heartache Tonight, Seven Bridges Road, live version, Victim of Love, The Sad Cafe, Life in the Fast Lane, I Can't Tell You Why, New Kid in Town, The Long Run, After the Thrill Is Gone. That's all you really bloody need. I mean, if you think about it. Now, we have been talking about bands and record companies that release compilation after compilation after compilation. Eagles are guilty as sin for that. You have Greatest Hits Volume 1, Greatest Hits Volume 2. You have the very best of the Eagles. You have the best of the Eagles, yet again from 1994. You have a double greatest hits album that, again, is supposed to be the very best of the Eagles. Uh, and then you have the Eagles, greatest hits, volume one and two. For me, this version is the quintessential version. You don't need the other ones. Once you have this, you're done. And this version goes on sells on Amazon for $26.99. You
Yeah.
know what? You have this collection, you're flying. And I am someone that owns the entire catalog on vinyl. But hand on heart, do I go back and listen to the albums, like in their
Yeah.
entirety? Sad to say, no, I don't. So there you go. Eagles, Greatest Hits, Volume 1 and 2. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome to the show Mr. Jim Bricker.
Da, 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 da,
And
da,
that's why the Red Sox will never win the pennant.
da.
There you go.
Excellent.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you the man of the hour, Mr. Jim Bricker.
I certainly am the man of the hour. I'm the man of the 45 minutes late of the hour, but that's another story.
You're fine. You're fine. Uh,
Better late than not at all.
we have started the show. We are giving our top five greatest hits compilations. We just gave our third one. Would you like to give your three? We'll let you go. You have the
Yeah.
floor.
Yeah.
I have the floor. Awesome. I'll take the floor. Actually, all I have are three. I could not come up with another two. So it sounds like I can just slot my first pick in here and then
And then
just
we continue.
continue.
Yeah.
Continue. Yes, of
Good
course.
idea.
Okay. I also have no idea what you guys have brought up before, so this may be a repeat.
Okay.
But
Well,
my first is going to be Creedence Clearwater Revival Chronicle. No,
Yep.
so I before I start bloviating, has that been mentioned already?
No.
Okay,
you're an
Go for it.
original.
really, this is all you need. I mean, when I first heard this album, it's a double album, and you could fit it onto a tidy 60-minute cassette.
Mhm.
Sides A and B on one side, side C and D on the other. I think the CD version is where they had the extended version of Susie Q on there. So that wasn't. The vinyl version wasn't burdened with that. But anyway, in my time on this earth of hearing other CCR albums, really, if you've got Chronicle, you've got it. You've got the essentials. You've got it all. And part of my winnowing process through this whole thing was to try to see, okay, if I pick this greatest hits album, am I going to miss hits from like later albums that came after this greatest hits?
Mhm.
And if so, it's like, well, then I can't pick this greatest hits album because it's not, the only thing that you would ever need from this artist. However, in the case of CCR, that is where I stand. This is the only thing I think you need from John and Stu and the rest of the boys. Um, the Pride of Lodi, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Chronicle.
Good choice.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I was thinking of that. I was thinking of there was a greatest hits compilation in 1978 released by Fantasy Records. It's a double album. I think it's just called The Greatest Hits. And it was on mail order at one point, you know?
Yeah.
You can get it through mail order at one point. And yeah, I thought that's really all you really need from them. You don't need Cosmos Garage or it's okay.
Or
It's
Green River. I mean, again, Green River is a fine album, but you take all the hits off of it, and the rest of it's just kind of okay, and you can live without it. Again, everything that's essential is on Chronicle.
exactly. All right.
Well,
Well,
Armando, was the mail order one, was that from KTEL?
no, it was through Fantasy.
Okay.
It
All
was
right.
through
Direct through
Fantasy.
Fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I remember watching uh the the Saturday afternoon Bruce Lee movies with my brother, and these mail order commercials would come on, available, 20 hits from CCR, greatest hits. It's like, okay, I like that. I like this song. I like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, okay. I never did. I mean, you can still get the album in stores, ladies and gentlemen. You can get it on CD. But today, but yeah, I just thought it was funny. I thought, no, but this is all you would really need. So,
Okay. It
all
probably
right.
followed it probably followed the commercial for the Pocket Fisherman. So yeah.
Actually, it did. It did.
Yeah.
It didn't. So there you go. All right, Jim. Thank you for your first
Thanks for showing up.
contribution. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for being you. That's just, the way it is. It's fine.
Thanks for
All right.
being on
However,
time.
There you
however,
go.
Jim, you have to stay for the rest of the video now.
Ah, geez, look at the time. I gotta go.
I
Sorry.
There
know.
you go. There you go.
All right.
There you
All
go.
right.
What did I miss
Yeah.
though?
Yeah, CC.
Quickly.
Real quick, I had George Harrison, Jefferson Airplane in America.
And I had Eagles, the Doors, and the Cars.
So for Eagles, did you pick like greatest hits 1 and 2?
Um, yes, I did actually. There was we were just saying, there is a volumes 1 and 2 greatest hits available through Rhino Electra, released in 2017. So you get both greatest hits 1 and 2
Okay.
on it.
And the
Fair
greatest
enough.
hit, the good thing about those is those 1 and 2 are available separately, and each one covers a different era of
That's
the
right.
Eagles. So
Right.
if you prefer the later stuff, you can just buy the one. If you're like the early stuff, you buy volume one. And
That's right.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. And
And
if you go
and
to base-
volume 1 is essentially 71 to 75, the one that has like the skull on the cover, right?
Yeah, and this one has a skull on the cover too, but it's both volumes in the one collection. So
Okay.
yeah.
And volume
I,
one,
I
I don't
feel
know.
I feel caught up now.
And volume one, at least for a long time, was one of the biggest selling albums of all time.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
think only
Of
the Thriller
everything.
supplanted it, right?
Maybe so.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right.
But there you go.
Yeah.
So you are caught up.
And there you're
Over to-
caught up.
Okay.
Over to Ken.
Number four.
Yes.
Number four. Um, get out your polyester leisure suit.
Go on.
Um, start spinning that mirror ball. We're talking ABBA. This
Ooh.
uh, ABBA Gold, which was released in 2014. Only 9 tracks, but like I say, they all deliver. Dancing Queen, Waterloo, Mamma Mia, Knowing Me, Knowing You, SOS, everything that would make you want to slit your wrists. So I have I've
What?
never
What?
bought
Sorry. What have I stumbled into here?
no ABBA is one of those bands that whereas I don't love them, I have high respect for the songwriting, especially the production. Um, and, they are just quality songs. And in a way, okay, so they appealed to the disco crowd back in the day, but um, it's not just pure disco. So I really admire that. Um, I don't cringe when if I should hear it or whatever.
Yeah,
I probably won't see the Broadway play or anything like that, but
I saw it 4 times, but go on.
well, there you go.
Mhm.
Yeah, but uh, yeah, this is just quality stuff, and
Now,
I'm sure the albums themselves, with album tracks, has a lot of other stuff. But if Dancing Queen just floats your boat and you just want a CD of the other stuff that you love and like, bingo. This
you
is I
see,
think this is it.
okay, you're saying ABBA Gold that has only 9 songs because the ABBA Gold I have came out in 92 and it's got 19 songs on it.
Well, this is
Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah. And then here again, um, ABBA Gold, there's about I think 47 different versions of it.
Oh my God.
So so I chose this one because I felt that these 9, um, it was just refined to the absolute best 9.
Okay, I'll put a graphic up side by side both albums.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But oh yeah, but this is good stuff. And there's the guys in the band were just such incredible songwriters.
Yeah.
It's like I remember when they put out the musical Chess,
Mm, yeah.
and just like Jesus Christ Superstar, it was a work in progress. And there was one sing along off of it by Murray Head, One Night in
One,
Bangkok.
yeah, and that's the one track I can't stand.
but
I I
but
have
it
this, yeah, I have the
yeah,
soundtrack.
but the rest of that album is just absolutely unbelievable. And actually, I've
It's
heard I've heard the final version that actually was on Broadway. I like the work in progress better.
mm,
It just I don't know. It was tighter. But anyway,
it's got to be said though, between Agneta being a soprano and Annifred or Frida being a mezzo soprano, their voices combined beautifully.
sure.
It was just flawless.
Yeah. There was something going on.
Smart ass.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Um,
right.
it's a
Shut
good
me
one.
up.
It's a good one. All right. No, it's a good choice. It's a good choice. My number 4, ladies and gentlemen, this is another artist who has released compilation upon compilation upon compilation. I'm referring to Mr. Elton John, and I'm going to be giving you his greatest hits, one from 1974, released on DGM and MCA Records, 10 tracks in total. Uh, I was going to put, he's got like, again, compilation after compilation. I was going to put both Grace Hits 1 and Grace Hits 3, but you know what? The only song I really like from Greatest Hits 3 is Empty Garden. Hey Hey Johnny. The rest of the 80s stuff, meh, you know.
Yeah.
Again, Greatest Hits 1, classic. I remember my sister's buying this. I was 4 years old. Okay, I remember listening to this at 4 years old. You've got 10 tracks. Your Song, Daniel, Honky Cat, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. As I go through the list here, Saturday Night's Alright for Fighting, Rocket Man. I think it's gonna it's gonna be a long, long time. Benny and the Jets, Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me, Border Song, and ends with Crocodile Rock. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, certain copies, certain releases, like in the UK, they replaced Border Song with Candle in the Wind, right? But if all you want is Elton John at its most classic, Greatest Hits 1 is all you really need, in my very humble opinion. So there you go. And this thing went like 17 times platinum in North America. It was a monster. I mean,
It was a monster.
anything that Elton John released between 72 to 75 was gone. I mean, like you could not compete with him in terms of releasing albums and having the hits. So I just thought, yeah, you know what? Keep it simple, stupid, and just pick the one album. So yeah, that's it. Number 4 for me, Elton John, Greatest Hits, number 1. So there you go. All right,
Yeah.
Jim, the late man of the hour.
Well, because I'm the late man of the hour, I'm just gonna storm in here and seem like I own the place, and I'm gonna cast an aspersion upon your choice, Mr. Venditti, if I may. So what you're saying,
I wouldn't expect anything less from you, kind sir. Go ahead.
so what you're saying is that the music aficionado could do just fine with those 10 Elton John songs, and they could just ignore Mona Lisas and Mad Hatters, High Flying Bird. You know, I've seen that movie too, Harmony, Ticking,
Let me amend
Bitch
what
is
I
Back. I
what I
mean,
what I
can I
say here.
continue, or do you get the idea here?
I get what you're saying. What I am saying is if all you want from Elton John are the greatest hits, you can find compilations with those songs on them, and you don't really need to get the albums overall.
Hmm.
Because
That's definitely true.
let me give you an
But
example.
oh, please.
Thank you. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Okay, I have it
Yep.
on CD, I have it on vinyl, I have the box set. Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding. Love that song.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, do I need to listen to the entire album all the time? Or would I? Unfortunately, no.
Hmm. Sure.
At times, to me, it just seems a bit tedious to get through the entire album. With songs like Jamaican Jerk Off and,
Yeah.
this song has no title, Gray Seal, for me, these are just albums that, for me, the great artists that, for me, the greatest hits are enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So,
I understand your point of view. As a counterpoint, I would say that if one just selected that Elton album, they would be missing out on a cornucopia of the deeper cuts that he and Bernie, also made, A+ songs out of. That's
and then I would say to you, my ignorant slut, that is my counterpoint, would be that this album, if someone would be so taken with this album, they would also be inclined to find out more about the artists like Elton John and just listen to more of their stuff.
Entry level.
Mhm. Okay, fair point. However, I think that changes the conceit of what we were after here, because we weren't after like what's the best primer albums for artists, whatever. We're saying where the greatest hits album is enough. And
Yeah.
my dear man, I
Yes.
would dare say that
But
leaving
you
things like
but you also
but
said the other day when we discussed this that this show was going to be freeform, and damn, is it freeform right now, ladies and gentlemen? So
good. Okay, all right. Well then the game's afoot, as the playwright said.
I'm saying, from my point of view, the greatest hits one with the 10 songs is enough.
Yep.
You know, if they added on Mona Lisa's and Manhattans, you know, again, the creme de la creme, it would be perfect.
Yep.
Ken,
I have something to say to our viewers. Don't you hate it when mommy and daddy fight? Me too. Okay. Now, the well, and you didn't hear me say this, Jim, at the beginning of the video. I said
Because I was
these
late.
are not hardcore fans. Yeah.
Yes.
So, admitting that right offhand, because someone that's a huge ABBA fan is going to say, "Really, only 9 tracks?" So, if anyone chooses to comment down below, which we hope you do, um, there's plenty of fodder for them to give us crap on some of
there
these
you
because
go.
they're
There
big
you
fans.
go.
That
Yeah.
too.
And so, yeah, but yeah, but
Okay.
you're right. I mean, what started out as a really simple idea,
Manifested and
this
grew.
concept was such a, hey, let's come up with something we can just knock off easily. Right.
All right.
If you love music, nothing choosing things is
There you
choosing your
go. There
favorite
you go.
kid.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we must carry on.
Where are
Down
we?
to, down to Jim for his next.
Jimmy?
Yes. Down to my selection. I'm gonna go with something from the other side of the pond from us. This would be a UK band that made a splash in the very early 80s and rocketed up the charts with a little bit of ska, a little bit of new wave, a little bit of pop rock. And this would be the band Madness. And this is their album from 1982 called Complete Madness. Now, this is before Our House. And frankly, I got a little tired of Our House, whether it was in the middle of our street or somewhere else. But I can say,
Blasphemy, but okay.
sorry.
I said that's blasphemy, but can carry on.
All right, okay. My contention, good sir, is that the 16 tracks on Complete Madness are really all you need because it gives you the whole gist of the band and what they were doing from their, you know, goofy ska two-tone roots before they became more of a pop band. Um, House of Fun was probably the poppiest song that they had on here, but you had brilliant things like, Embarrassment, Baggy Trousers, their cover of It Must Be Love, uh, The Prince, Night Boat to Cairo. I mean, the whole album is chock full of fantastic tracks. So much so that I don't know if it was in Madness's first tour of the US, but in my high school, and I graduated in 1983, there was a whole ton of Madness fans. And in the summer of 83, there was a little concert in the San Francisco Bay Area called Day on the Green. This Day on the Green show was immense. Oingo Boingo, The Fix, Thompson Twins. The headliner was The Police. But in the middle of all that was Madness. Madness brought down the house. I mean, 80,000 people dancing, yelling. I mean, it was just sheer joyful bedlam. And I pity The Fix. that had to go on after Madness prior to the police because they were just in a thankless position of having to follow that. And if you're not if your only familiarity with Madness is Our House, okay, that's fine.
Or one step
If you like that, what's that?
or one step beyond.
Or one step beyond. If that's all you're familiar with, go back and pick up this, and I think it will do you just fine. And yeah, maybe it's a little blasphemous to leave Our House out in the middle of the street or whatever, but this album delivers the goods.
How many tracks?
16 on
Okay.
vinyl. So you're
Um,
pushing,
Sure.
you're talking like Todd Rundgren sized album, minutes
Okay.
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're pushing the limit there. Yeah, percent. I got you.
So, what would you say is a rough percentage of these songs that are ska flavored?
Uh, I'm
You
looking
didn't
at the
even
track
think
list
that,
now.
man.
Yeah.
I would say it's 70%.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Fair
Were,
enough.
were you asking because you're going to say it's more of a pop album than a ska album, or
No, no,
what's
no,
your?
not at all. Not at all.
All right. Cool.
All right.
Cool. Ken.
For my finale, I have a big whopping 25 track selection for you.
Oh, do you?
1998, The Essential, Leonard Skinner.
Woo! Okay.
I grew up in the South,
Did you?
and Leonard
I
Skinner was
couldn't tell.
all over the radio. It wasn't until much later I discovered there were some Allman Brothers and Atlanta Rhythm section. So for a long time, I thought Leonard Skinner was basically it for Southern rock.
Go on.
Yeah, 25 tracks. It's got all the biggies: Sweet Home Alabama, Give Me Three Steps, Simple Man, Saturday Night Special, Freebird, lotta, 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 lotta.
Mm-hmm.
I have bought several Leonard Skinner albums in my time, but yeah, this one covers everything as far as I'm concerned. I'm much more of an Allman Brothers Atlanta Rhythm section fan than I am Skinner, but I do appreciate a lot of their early stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and this has all those early hot tracks and some that were singles that I never heard of. So it does have something that's a little bit deeper than on the surface with 25 tracks. I fudged a little bit because the last track is a live version of Freebird, but the original is in the rest of the stuff too. So and I believe the live version of Freebird was previously released, so it's not so much
Okay.
of a cash
That's
grab.
fine.
But yeah, Southern rock it can be a tricky genre for
Mm-hmm.
people in certain around the world. But if you like just the biggies from the band, this will deliver very very well, very well. That and a little bit more. The
Very good.
Essential Leonard Skinner, because I figured if it's got essential in the name, it's got to fit.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
It's going to have to be.
Well, there you go.
Well, there you go.
There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my last pick for Simply the Best. But we go with a little bit of Rolling Stones, shall we? Now, again, the Rolling Stones are another one of those bands that have compilation after compilation after compilation after compilation. I have picked what some people would consider to be the compilation.
You don't say.
I do, my dear boy. I do. Hot Rocks, 64 to 71. Released December 20th, 1971 through APCO Music, London Records, and Rolling Stone Records. Distributed through Atlantic Records. Double disc set. Now, my brother-in-law Mario had this, and I remember seeing the cover of the side, the profile shot of the faces, like one after the other kind of thing. And I'm like, what is this? What is this? And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? If you want, personally for me, I'm talking my own personal experience and opinion. This was the Rolling Stones at their prime, or in their prime and at their best, okay? Um, starts with disc one, starts with Time on My Side. Time is on my side, sorry. Heart of Stone, Play with Fire. I Can't Get No Satisfaction. As Tears Go By. Rest in peace, Marianne Faithfull. Get Off of My Cloud. Mother's Little Helper. 19th Nervous Breakdown. Paint It Black. Under My Thumb. Ruby Tuesday. Let's Spend the Night Together. 12 tracks on disc one. Disc two, as I go down here on my notes here, starts with Jumpin' Jack Flash, Street Fighting Man, Sympathy for the Devil, Honky Tonk Woman, Gimme Shelter, okay, Midnight Rambler Live, okay. You can always get
Which is a great version.
exactly. Brown Sugar, Wild Horses, okay. For me, what's missing here is Angie, or Dancing with Mr. D, or Winter, but it went to 71. So again, you can't always get what you want. And I got my 10. There you
Hey.
go. There you go. Now, for me, again, Ken mentioned this at some point during the melee of Jim and I talking. For me, this is all you need in terms of the Stones. Now, I'm sorry,
Yes.
mid 70s into the, I mean, with the exception of Tattoo You, into the 80s, the Stones just for me kind of petered out musically. Okay.
Some girls? Where are you at with some girls?
Mm, all right.
It's a
Yeah,
product of its time for
it
sure.
is. It is. Now
Sure.
with albums like you know, after like Tattoo You, Dirty Work, like the quality just seemed to go down, with the
Sure.
exception of possibly Steel Wheels. Like I'm not saying that they didn't have good moments throughout the rest of their career, but like Hackney Diamonds, I think is a great album. I think it's a strong
Mhm.
album.
Yeah.
But for me, the quintessential Rolling Stones is on this album. And I tried to get this on CD at one point, and I bought the wrong one. I bought the Phased Cookies compilation instead of this one. Um, I wasn't well versed on the Stones. I thought it was the same one, but it wasn't. So for me, this is the quintessential collection if you want classic Stones. This is a good entry point, and Ken brought up a good point in terms of being entry points. There are some bands that I'm the type of person where there are certain bands you hear a greatest hits from and you want to go investigate more of the catalog.
Mhm.
Queen, prime example. My sister bought me, thank you, Mary. She bought me the original greatest hits from me in 81 on vinyl. I listened to the greatest hits. I wanted to invest and find out more about the band. I went and bought the entire catalog over the years. That was an anomaly. There are very few bands for me that I would listen to a greatest hits and want to go buy the rest of the albums. I'm just saying, my list of albums on this show, on this episode, are for me bands that the greatest hits is enough for me to have. And for some people,
Yep.
it could be a good entry point to start. So
This was my entry point. This was the first Stones I ever bought. Another
really,
great thing about it is if Hot Rocks really does spark your interest,
Mhm.
if you don't want to sink a lot of money into buying the albums, there's a second volume, Hot
True.
Rocks Volume 2, that is pretty killer also.
So it's not the Phase Cookies album.
No, no, it's another double album. Hot
Really?
Rocks. Yeah,
Okay.
Hot Rocks 2.
Yep.
So one of the nice things, we talked about record companies releasing so many greatest hits albums by specific artists. Um, when probably the first one or two would have
Mhm.
sufficed forever. The
Mhm.
nice thing about what the Rolling Stones record company did was, as time passed, they released greatest hits albums within a certain period of time.
Okay.
So if
Fair
the
enough.
late 70s is your time, then there's Suck It in the 70s, um, the one
Made
with
in the Shade.
yes, thank you. Um, if you really just only want Stones throughout their career, there are two different volumes of a greatest hits album called GRR,
That's right.
GRRR. I think there's one that's three albums or three discs, and there's another one that's like five or six.
And there's another one called 40 Licks, if I'm not.
40 licks, yes, that's a later, yeah. But the thing about it is a small compilation of even two discs that is trying to cover their entire career is going to be spotty,
Mhm.
because
Sure.
you're going to have that latter stuff that's hit or miss. Um, but yeah, so if someone says, I'd like some Rolling Stones, and I was going to give them Rolling Stones for Christmas, I would give them Hot Rocks 1 and 2. I just,
In-
and that would suffice most people just fine.
You see,
So
and if anybody wanted to get into Queen, because I mean, Queen is another example of 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 a of a record company, Hollywood Records, going for the cash grab,
yeah,
releasing Greatest Hits 1, Greatest Hits 2, and then a Greatest Hits 3. There's like at that point, you're scraping the bottom of the bloody barrel.
yeah.
Like, do I want to hear Wyclef Jean's version of Another One Bites the Dust? No.
Does that exist?
Yes.
I'm
Oh, I'm sorry.
Forgive me if I don't look it up. Yeah.
No. I mean, that's what I'm saying. No. No. So
Yeah.
there
No.
you go. So
Fair
it's
enough.
an example of a record company scraping the bottom of the bloody barrel. And yeah, the purpose of this episode, ladies and gentlemen, was to just give you examples of bands where owning a greatest hits is enough, would be enough for us. In some cases, these are all you need. In other cases, you may listen to the greatest hits compilation and think, you know what? I want to check out some more. I want to find out what this band is about. So in
Yeah.
that case, it's a good starting point to go from. Okay. So any more comments, ladies and I was gonna say ladies and germs. Go ahead. Any more opinions? And no? Okay.
I have a last two to throw in.
All right, Jim, you're gonna give us or grace us with your final two choices.
Final two, yeah. I did have only one, but then as we were talking, as usual, something else comes to mind, so I'm going to call
Of
half
course,
an audible.
of course.
Okay, so my final planned selection is Wings Greatest, as in Paul McCartney and Wings from 1978. This is just a killer album of album cuts and singles that were finally released, on long playing form. Um, you got your basics like Silly Love Songs and Let 'Em In and Band on the Run. But then you have some of the other more juicy cuts like Junior's Farm, um, High, 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 Another Day. I mean, this album is just chock full of some greatness. And again, having listened to several McCartney and Wings albums, this will take care of 99% of your needs. I do have to say though that the album would be improved by adding well, no, that's not the right way to say that. I recognize that if all I had were this album, I would be leaving behind Too Many People, which to me is like a 10 out of 10 pop song, and 1985, which closes the Band on the Run album.
Yeah.
Okay.
Both those songs, I think, are just killer diller deluxe songs, and it would be a shame to leave them behind. But in the spirit, I could strike Mull of Kintyre off of Wings Greatest and substitute in Too Many People, and frankly, I think half of humanity would just be glad of that substitution.
Here's a question. Does it have Good Night Tonight?
It does not. I think Good Night Tonight, I think, came out after this.
Okay, that's right. Okay. All right.
I have a question.
But of course,
Which would be better, this or Wings Over America?
Wings Over America.
Roughly the same song lineup. Roughly.
Roughly, but you
Rough.
got of course, your Magneto and the Titanium Man
Yep.
on Wings Over America. I don't know. I think I tend to go with this one just
Okay.
because I love the studio arrangements of, My Love and Junior's Farm. I guess the only other thing that I wish this album had on it was Listen What the Man Said. I think that's an outstanding single that is not on this. So maybe I should just jettison this whole thing because I've got too many caveats on there. Now that I talk about it with my fine group
Southern
of
friends.
music-minded gentlemen, yeah, I just think this is BS. But
Okay.
Well,
I
not
do
necessarily.
have one to substitute in there.
Are you
Okay.
sure now? Okay, go on.
No, I'm not sure. Um,
Go on.
long ago, there was a young lady who pretty much owned pop music in the mid to late '70s by the name of Linda Ronstadt, and they gave her a greatest hits album in a maroon kind of package. And then a few years later, they gave her a greatest hits album in a more bluish kind of
Right.
package. Well, somewhere down the line around the 2000s, someone decided that they needed to combine the maroon and the blue into a green colored package. So there is a CD compilation out there, which is Volume One and Volume Two of Greatest Hits, all in one package of 23 cuts. And I tell you what, You're No Good, Different Drum, Long, Long Time, and my absolute killer favorite Linda Ronstadt song, written by Carla Bonoff, Someone to Lay Down Beside Me.
Yeah.
That is a fantastic package right there.
Okay.
That
Yeah,
is
that would
a
be
killer set.
Okay.
Does
All
it have both Costello songs on it?
Checking. Nope. It does have
Neither.
Poor Pitiful Me,
Okay.
but
Zero.
no Allison. And what was the other Elvis Costello song that she did?
I'm not sure.
Mystery Dance?
No.
Linda could tear up Mystery Dance. I'm just
Party
saying.
Girl.
Party. Oh man,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Party Girl.
Having said all that, Linda Ronstadt's album with the Nelson Riddle Orchestra called "What's
Yes.
New" is
Yes.
just to die for. Also,
Yeah.
so even that, I can't come up with 3 records that would fit the criteria of what I had in my mind coming into this episode. So A, I'm late. B, I failed in meeting the course objectives. And 3, even the ones that I produced are just completely
Well,
null and void. So
but there
I don't even
again,
know why I crashed this party.
but there again, like I said, these aren't for hardcore fans. You are more than just a casual Ronstadt fan.
There you go.
Am I?
There you go.
So yeah. So
Okay.
both of those actually fit the criteria. We're not talking about because the bands that that'd be like Armando picking Queen's greatest hits. That doesn't apply to him.
Yep.
Elvis Costello wouldn't apply to me. Steely Dan wouldn't apply to you either.
That's right. That's right.
So
Harumph.
yeah,
All right.
Harumph, that's right.
Cool. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it.
There you have it.
Very interesting and confusing episode.
At least
Happy to
for us.
contribute.
Simply the Best. Is a greatest hits enough? Please put down the comments below. And I'm sure you're going to comment after this episode. Your list, if you have a list of bands that you just would prefer to listen to a greatest hits from, again, no right or wrong answers. We're just trying to give you a list of bands that we feel for us would be, it would suffice just to have a greatest hits album of, right? And I don't know about you two, but
Quarter Flash.
another one. All right. I don't know about you two, but
No.
I came up with a list of bands I thought, I could see it just owning a greatest hits would be enough. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, please let us know what you think in the comments below. A list of albums from bands that you would just prefer to own a greatest hits of. And yeah, well, I want to thank Ken for being with me on this episode from the beginning. And for Jim chiming in whenever he possibly could. So I mean,
Yeah.
it is what it is,
good.
ladies and gentlemen. Again, please click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content we've got coming up. We've got more shows coming up, a lot more shows coming up. Beginner, a young person's guide to Bela Fleck, and among other episodes we've got coming up. So please stay tuned for that. We're going to get them to you as soon as we possibly can. All right. So for Ken Cheshire, the running late man of the hour, Jim Bricker, and myself, Armando Venditti, signing off. Please, again, look after yourselves and one another, and we'll see you soon with more episodes. Bye for now.